Everyone to WatchGuard Team Canada's Tech Thursdays. My name is Wheil Elnuweisri. I am a sales engineer with WatchGuard Canada, and today we're going to be talking about how you can secure remote workers using WatchGuard solution. In today's session, we're going to be covering mobile VPN, access portal, TDR, MFA, and DNSWatchGO. I will also answer some of the frequently asked questions related to these topics, show some helpful tips, and I will do a quick demo, and then I'll conclude the session with 10 minutes questions and answers. One of the most important questions before we dig deeper into the details of these tools, what are the services, tools, and resources that you need to protect, and where are they located? Are they on premises or in the cloud? Depending on that, you can use the right tool. Regardless of where these services are located, it is always recommended to utilize the layered security approach, where you can use Total Security Suite that includes all the features of basic security suites, that mainly they are signature-based features, plus other security services that it will provide you protection against zero-day attacks, cyber attacks, and advanced malware. If your services are hosted on premises or on your office, you can use tabletop Firebox appliances, rack-mounted Firebox appliances, or make use of the Firebox V, which is our virtual Firebox that can run on either Microsoft Hyper-V or VMware. If it is a cloud-hosted environment, then you can use our Firebox Cloud, where it supports from 50 to 1,500 users. You have multiple purchasing options where you can bring your own license and the hosting cost is going to be additional, or go with the pay by the hour or pay as you go option. And it's available in both AWS Marketplace and Microsoft Marketplace. Some of the point that I wanted to draw your attention to related to the Firebox Cloud, that the trial for the 30 days is going to be included in the pay as you go option. Another point is that pay-as-you-go cannot be converted to bring your own license, and that's due to the hosting environment itself. A tutorial video that's been added recently to our video tutorial that is going to show you how to set up Firebox Cloud, which is I recommend you to view. Let's get started here with the first topic, mobile VPN. We have different types of VPN that is being supported. These three types, which is IKE version 2, mobile VPN with SSL, and IPsec VPN client that is supported on our platforms. IPsec VPN client is a premium client that you have to pay extra for, where for IKE version 2 and for SSL, it is for free and it is already included with the solution. As you can notice, that all of them support Windows and Mac operating system. If you're looking to cover more, such as Android iOS devices, it's better to look at IKE version 2 or mobile VPN with SSL to do that. Take into account that sometimes you may need to download extra free services such as OpenVPN clients or StrongSwan. When it comes to the cryptography, as you can see that IKE version 2 is the best, followed by IPsec VPN and then mobile VPN with SSL. Both IKE version 2 and IPsec VPN clients, they support Windows pre-login. All of them, they support split tunneling, which is we're going to be mentioning later on in the session. Take into account that for IKE version 2, you might need to do extra configuration on the client side. Now, what about IPsec port that it's going to be required to be open on the firewall? Definitely, that has to be open for IKE version 2 and IPsec VPN client, but not for the SSL because using standard port of 443. All of them, they support MFA. When it comes to Ike version 2, in case if you're going to be using AuthPoint for MFA, you might need to install NCP server to support it. If you're looking for other advanced features, such as integrated personal firewall or some customer branding options, licensing server, you might invest on getting the IPsec VPN client. When it comes to the speed, both Ike version 2 and IPsec VPN client will provide you with excellent speed. When it comes to SSL VPN, it might be a little bit slower. Now, when it comes to the capacity, it's one of the questions that is being asked of how much or how many clients that is going to be supported. The two sources to get this information is either from the data sheet or product matrix, or it can also be found on the feature key itself, where you can get the information about the branch office VPN tunnels, which is site to site, IPsec VPN users that is going to include Ike version 2, and also the number of user for SSL VPN. Some of the frequently asked questions that related to mobile VPN. You already reached the maximum support number of the VPN users on that specific device or firewall. How can we get more? The two options available to you is to upgrade to a higher model because you already exceeded the allowed numbers of SSL VPN users or Ike version 2 or IPsec VPN, or you can use Firebox V or Cloud to handle the spike for a specific period of time. What affect the speed performance of mobile VPN? Internet bandwidth, it's one of the overlooked points. You always have to take into account if you have the internet speed available in both directions as needed. The load in the Firebox itself, sometimes the box is undersized and you don't have enough resources to handle all the features, all the applications, and all the users. The type of VPN or protocol that's being used. How we can enhance the authentication process for mobile VPN, since now we have a secure tunnel between point A and point B. But how can we add an extra layer of security to secure your VPN connection? It's definitely using an AuthPoint multi-factor authentication, which is we're going to discuss later in this session. Some of the helpful tips related to mobile VPN on how to improve the performance of mobile VPN. First of all, is to optimize the usage of security features in the firewall to help reducing the load. Try to reevaluate the situation and the configuration of the firewall depending on the environment. Try to use a split tunnel option to make sure that only the traffic that need to go through the firewall is handled by the firewall. Try to use UDP for data channel instead of the TCP. Please pay attention that if you're going to use the UDP in this scenario, you have to make sure that the specific port is open in the firewall and there is no other firewalls is blocking that specific port. Try to use Ike version 2 instead of SSL, and also explore the different level of encryption depending on the security requirement that you have. If you have the ability of using AS/GCM cipher, that might make it faster. Moving on here to the next topic, which is access portal. And we're going to start with the definition of access portal. What is access portal? It's a clientless VPN solution that is going to provide you with access to third-party web application, which is mainly a cloud-based application such as Office 365, Dropbox, and so on. Also, access to RDP and SSH session, internal application, and Microsoft Exchange services using reverse proxies. The configuration is going to be done on the firewall itself. You're going to hand a URL to the end user. They log in using their username password. They could be protected by multi-factor authentication. And then once that they log in, they're going to be able to access these resources using their browser. Here's an example of how it's going to look like. So once that they type in the IP address or the URL, they're going to log in with username password. And once they log in, they're going to see the access to RDP, SSH, or other cloud-based applications. Some of the questions that's related to this product. Is this feature available on all WatchGuard Firebox models? This feature is not supported on XTM or XTMV, T-Series, M200, or M300 devices. The access portal is supported in Firebox V, Firebox Cloud, and all other Fireboxes such as M270, 370, up to the 5600. Is it a licensed feature? Yes, it is. And it cannot be purchased as a standalone feature. It is part of Total Security. Which version of the fireware that is going to be required to run this feature? Starting from 12.1, this access portal is going to be available on the selected devices, but it is recommended to go with 12.5 or higher so that you can make use of the reverse proxy configuration. Some helpful tips that's related to the access portal. Whenever that you want to use this feature, always size the firewall properly, because each RDP session that is going to be rendered through the firewall and use the resources is going to be using an average of 50 megabytes of RAM. Use fully qualified domain name to point to the firewall. Use the certificate for the access portal. So to make it easier for the end user to access it and remember the name, and also that to avoid this self-signed certs warning that's shown to the end users. Use multi-factor authentication to secure authentication process to the access portal itself. And that will lead us now to the next feature, which is TDR or the solution that we have for the endpoint security. As usual, we're going to start with the definition. What is TDR? TDR is a powerful collection of malware tools that is going to correlate the threat indicators from the firewall, from the host sensor that's installed in the endpoint, for the reason to stop known and unknown and evasive malware threats, such as cyber attacks, advanced malware, CryptoLocker, ransomware. TDR is part of Total Security Suite. So the question is, why TDR? Why do we need it? Because the endpoint and the network prevention not blocking all the threats. We could have our network security, which is the firewall. We could have an antivirus on the endpoint, but the antivirus, it's only doing signature-based protection in this scenario. You don't have any behavior-based or AI-based tools on the endpoint, specifically if they are not behind the firewall. It's difficult to connect the dots between the network and endpoint. You could have thousands of events, and always the hackers is trying to find what is the security hole in your system. Also, not enough staff expertise or time to deal with all of that. So you need a system that is smart enough to reduce the false positives and to automate the process of taking the action. So how does TDR work? Mainly, it's a cloud-based solution. You're going to have the host sensors that is going to be installed on the endpoints. And the endpoints here, it can be your laptops, servers, also the firewall. We have the threat sync that it's receiving the events from both sources, and to find out if there is an attack and respond to that attack automatically once that the policy is being set up to do so. This is an example of how the dashboard is going to look like. Its dashboard is in the cloud. It will show you the indicators in here of what's going in the environment. If there is any remedies being applied to the end devices, how many hosts that or licenses that's available to you, and also unresolved indicator timeline that is going to show you the score system depending on the severity of the attack. Some of the frequently asked questions related to the TDR is how many licenses that is included with the total security. As an example here, you can see for T15 you have 5, for M370 you have 150, for the rest of them you're going to have 250 licenses. You can have a host sensor add-on option that is available to you as well. And the host sensor, it can work or compatible with the following operating system, which is Windows, Linux, Mac operating systems. How TDR host sensors will affect endpoint performance. And this is, I think, one of the questions being asked whenever that you want to install something on the endpoint. TDR itself is a lightweight agent that has minimal effect on the performance on the internet connection itself. I already have an AV. Do I need a TDR? So the AV or antivirus mainly depends on signatures. We don't want to replace it. We want to complement it. Where antivirus, usually it is reactive in nature. But for TDR, it's going to collect and analyze all the forensic data that's from the firewall, from the endpoint, and it's going to proactively detect and respond to security threats, including ransomware. What is host containment is one of the features that it is available with TDR, where if there's an infection, then the threat sink is going to contain the host machine from the network to prevent any further infection of the network or the business. Once that it's contained, then it's going to eliminate the threat by automatically killing the process, quarantining the malicious files, and deleting all the associated registry key. And also, you can automate the process of taking the action of returning this healthy device back to the network. Some of the helpful tips related to TDR. We have a TDR deployment best practices document that's available on WatchGuard Help Center. It's going to be very useful for you whenever that you are testing TDR or trying to deploy it for the first time. Check what are the policies configured and if they are enabled or not. Create exclusion for antivirus to avoid any conflicts. And in case if you have any other services, such as backup or older systems processes that you know that it could affect the performance of TDR, you can create the exclusion for it. Deploy TDR host sensors on remote users, endpoints, as well as servers. So you want to protect the end users for sure, but also the servers that's in your network. Configure alerts, reports to be sent to the admin and the client as needed. Now we are moving to multi-factor authentication, or AuthPoint, which is, we talked about it and we did the recommendation of using it with Access Portal and VPN. So what is a multi-factor authentication? Mainly, it is the usage of 2 or more authentication factors from something you know, such as the password or PIN, something you have, such as the token mobile phone, or your fingerprint or biometric, as we call them. So what is included or being used by the AuthPoint authenticator? First of all is the passwords, and this password can be created for users of the cloud, or it can be synced from LDAP or Active Directory. Approval on the mobile authenticator, so we have a push to the phone itself, and then you can approve or deny that request. The correct mobile phone DNA, This is taking into account the information of the device itself. So if the device or the phone is being cloned, the hacker or the attacker cannot use that. Fingerprint to access, which is available with certain phone models. We all know that our clients always read the news. And if they heard in the news that Facebook mistakenly stored millions of user password in plain text, they would be wondering, or the employer would be wondering, if actually the employee is using the same password that's used for his Facebook to access his corporate laptop. With all the applications that we have nowadays, we will know that a lot of users, they're going to be reusing the same password for multiple applications. And we also know that hackers, they are trying to maximize the damage and make as much money as possible. And one of the best tools that they can use is the MSP environment itself. So we have to protect ourselves and gain the trust of the end users and the clients. AuthPoint is hosted in WatchGuard Cloud, so it's a cloud-based solution. It will provide you with protection for cloud applications and environments such as Office 365, GoToMeeting, and so on. Any of the application that it is based on SAML applications. Also to provide protection for enterprise environment, which is going to include your endpoints, servers, web portals, and remote access via VPN. The end users passwords, it can be created, as we said, in the cloud, or it can be synchronized via your LDAP or Active Directory. You have multiple authentication options using one-time password, push or QR code for both online and offline, and also you have the support of hardware tokens if needed. So the question is, why AuthPoint? First of all, it's a cloud-based solution. It's hassle-free. It provides you with scalability for your solution end users. It's easy to deploy and manage. It's simple for the end users. They're going to just receive an email, they download the authenticator, and they're ready to go. It's flexible option for authentication, so you can use the phone or the hardware token if needed. And our ecosystem team is doing an excellent job with the integration with third-party products as needed. Some of the common use cases for AuthPoint as a multi-factor authentication. Employees' PCs and server login. So if you want to log into your Windows machines, Linux, or Mac operating system. Single sign-on to the cloud applications. Remote access, including VPNs, privileged use access, and also for the compliance. The last topic for today is going to be DNSWatchGO, which is considered another tool that you can use for endpoint security. So what is DNSWatchGO? It is a licensed feature that provides DNS-level protection for the users on the go. It's mainly for the remote users. It protects against malicious clickjacking and phishing domains regardless of the connection, type, protocol, or port. You can protect any network or device with consistent policy enforcement that can be configured in the cloud. How this is going to look like, that within your environment, you're going to have your firewall. If you have total security, you can have DNSWatch configured for the users behind the firewall. For the end users that they are remote users, you can install DNSWatchGO client, and you can create a centralized policy in the cloud that it will facilitate the action or the protection depending on the location of the end users. Some of the frequently asked questions related to DNSWatchGO. Why do I need DNSWatchGO? It's because it's a lightweight, always on security that's going to provide you with DNS level security that automatically will protect the end users from phishing attacks, and also it will provide you with content filtering as well as education for the end users. What are the available methods that I can use to deploy DNSWatchGO client? You can download it manually to individual devices. You can install it using the command prompt in Windows, or you can use Active Directory GPO to install it on the end user devices because it's an MSI package. Does it have a reporting or alerting service? And can we whitelist or blacklist domains manually? Both of these configurations are available, and you can do that from the dashboard in the cloud. Now I'm going to show you where you can get the trial for the tools that we talked about, where you can configure and manage these tools, and how it's going to look like for the end user. Let's get started here by finding out where we can get the trial. So the first thing that you can do is to log in to your partner portal, which is, as you can see, you have the option that can be protected with your MFA or multi-factor authentication, which is AuthPoint in this scenario. Once that I logged into my portal, I can go under Manage Products. So that will be under Support Center, my WatchGuard, Manage Products. And in there you can see that we have for AuthPoint and also DNSWatchGO. So it's a place actually you can see what are the licenses that is available for you already, and also you can get the free trial for MFA and also DNSWatchGO. Another place that you can go to so that you can download your Firefox V trial, that you have to go under Partner Portal, Product, and then you have the link for Virtual Appliance Evaluation, where you can request the evaluation. Once that you click on this, you will receive an email with the serial number and the activation process and instructions for that specific trial. Now, moving on into the endpoint security tools that we discussed. First of all, we talked about TDR. So how can I actually configure manage TDR, or threat detection response, which is going to be the protection for, against zero-day attacks, ransomware, and CryptoLocker. To do that, I'm going to go back here under Support Center, my WatchGuard, and I'm going to go Manage TDR. It depends on the view. Sometimes the view is for a service provider, so that you have other accounts under your account. I'm going to choose one here so that as an example, where you can see the dashboard, the threat sync, all the reports, the devices. This is where I can go there and find out what are the hosts, which is the host sensors or the firebox that is reporting to the cloud. And also there is an option there where I can download the host sensor depending on the operating system that I have in my environment. And you have also here the instructions on the download. If I want to see what's going on with the dashboard, so I can see here the indicators, if there's any remedies being applied, I can see the timeline and the scoring system for each of these devices. And also I can see if the devices are up or not, if there is any issues or problem or they are disconnected. From the point of view of the end user, it's gonna show up as an icon in here. And also when it comes to what they can see and what they cannot see, it's also there's an option that you can turn it on and off. Like for example, this one for administrators, they can pose the protection, but for the end user, you can enforce it so they cannot actually pose it. You have also view activity. So you can see here if there is any quarantine files, if there is any killed processes, or if there is any registry deletion that happened. The other tool that we talked about, it is DNSWatchGO, which is the protection on the DNS level, and also protection for against phishing attacks. So how to configure and monitor that? Going back to the same place, which is our portal, and you can see here we have Manage DNS Watch. where you can see that there's reports, there's deploy, configure. If I click here on deploy, so I can go to DNSWatchGO clients, and I can download the DNSWatchGO client from there. It's also available in MSI format, so that if you have an Active Directory and a group policy, then you can actually install it on the end user devices. It's the same thing when it comes to the end user. You're going to see here that they are protected again in this DNSWatchGO with DNSWatchGO tool. And what we have in here, for example, if I clicked on a link and that link is a phishing attack. So this is what the end user is going to see, that the website is being blocked and there is something went wrong. And we have here the message that can be changed as needed. And there's also an educational component, which is a 5 minutes training against phishing attacks and how you can protect yourself against phishing attacks in the future. Another thing that you can do with DNSWatchGO, that you can configure a policy for off-premises users for web blocker. So for example, in here, I blocked it for remote users when it comes to gambling. So if I decided to go to casino.org, it will show me that the website has been blocked. So this is when it comes to the endpoint security. Moving on here, we're gonna discuss multi-factor authentication and how we can integrate it, configure it, and manage it when it comes to the solution. So here I have my phone that is being reflected, and you can see the authenticator. If I want to do the configuration for it, going to the same place, my WatchGuard, I'm gonna go to the WatchGuard Cloud. Under WatchGuard Cloud, depending if it's your service provider or not, you can see that there's subscribers, there's service providers, there's the inventory when it comes to the licenses that it's available. So as an example, I'm going to pick one of these accounts, and you can see here in the dashboard, we have the alerts, all the resource activities, how many users, how many AuthPoint licenses that is available. And I can go configure AuthPoint, where I can set my resources, groups, users. I can have external identities, which is LDAP Active Directory synchronization, where I can download my gateway agent that it will do the synchronization for me. Here also, if you want to use hardware tokens, so you can do the configuration and the downloads that it's related to the login app for Windows. Also, we have the support now for ADFS and RDWeb in case this is available for you in your environment. Now, once that I have the users in here, you can see one of them is or that is synchronized through LDAP. I created others that they are using the cloud only. They are not synchronized with LDAP or Active Directory. They will receive an email with the instruction to download this authenticator on their phone. And then the token is going to be available. You have an option to add an extra layer of security by protecting your one-time password with a biometric. So if I click on this, you see that it's requesting my fingerprint. So if I use my fingerprint, now I can see the one-time password. You have also the option here for QR code. That option is available especially if you are using this offline. So let's say that you are traveling, you don't have internet connection, you want to log onto your laptop, then you can actually use the QR code reader. You have also the option for, as an end user, to migrate your tokens to your new phone. And that actually will help a lot with the administration so that they don't need to put a request every time that they change their phone. Now, I will show you here one of the usage of MFA. One of the tools that is available is Identity Provider Portal. And to do that, or my cloud-based application like Office 365, if I have Salesforce, all of them, they, using SAML in this scenario, we have to go under AuthPoint WatchGuard.com and then / the name of the company which is being configured in the cloud. So as an example, this is my own configuration. I'm going to go to AuthPoint WatchGuard. And once that I'm there, I'm going to log in with my username and password. It can be actually a username or email, depending on the configuration. Here, I'm going to type my first factor password, which is stored in my Active Directory and synced through the gateway agent. I have the option here to send a push to my phone. I can scan QR code. I can type the one-time password if I would like to. Also, you have the option here of forgot password. This is related to if you created the user in the cloud. So it is not synchronized with any Active Directory, then in this scenario, they can reset their own passwords. We have the option of forgot token. So if you showed up to work with your laptop, but there is no phone. So in this scenario, you can call or contact your administrator that they're going to give you a token for a specific period of time. Now, once that I send here the push, it will show up on my phone that you are trying to sign in. This is the username, the timestamp, where are you coming from, and what you are trying to access. If all that match and makes sense to me, I'm gonna click on approve. Once this is done, I'm now inside the identity provider portal where I have my applications that also support single sign-on. So for example, if I click on Salesforce, it's going to open another tab. Single sign-on is going to work at the background, and it's not going to ask me for username password again. So the end user now just need to remember one password and to have their phone with them or the hardware token. Okay, moving on. Another way that for the end users to reach the resources is Access Portal. And I have my Access Portal here that it's pointing to my firewall. Definitely it is recommended, as we talked before, that you have your certificate that's installed in here so that you don't see any error and you see that it's as secured. And I'm going to log in here with Alex. Alex, it's not part of my Active Directory. There's different ways on where they can be. They can be defined on the firewall, can be in a radius, or it can be on Active Directory or LDAP. This specific user is using radius. So if I type here my password, again, I'm going to receive my request that is pushed to my phone saying that Alex is trying to log in. I'm gonna approve it. And now I have the access to my RDP session and SSH session for this specific user. So for example, if I click here on RDP, I'll have my RDP session. Definitely have the option to make it as full screen if you want to. Also, I can go to SSH. And if you prefer, you can also include your cloud-based applications in the same location. The configuration for this is done from the configuration in the firewall itself. I'm going to show you here how it's going to look like. So I'm connected here to my device. If I go to WSM, once it starts, you can go to your subscription services. And from the subscription services, you can click on Access Portal and do the configuration for your Access Portal. Subscription services, Access Portal, and you have here the configuration for the applications such as RDP, SSH. I have other resources that it's available. You can do the configuration for reverse proxy, which is server that it's a public server, but it's behind the firewall and it's accessed from the outside, and you want people to access it through your Access Portal. You have the user connection configuration for each of the users, and also you have the SAML integration for the authentication, and you can customize this specific portal as needed. Okay, since we covered now how you can access in different ways, one of the most popular ones definitely is going to be our SSL VPN, where you can connect using SSL VPN here with your server name, username, and password. And we're going to click on connect. You will see here in a second that we will have our request coming to the phone, that it's being protected. If I click on approve, you will see that the SSL VPN is going to log me in and it's protected with a multi-factor authentication. One of the things that I wanted to mention is where you can download the SSL VPN client and the NCP client in case that you purchase that. So I can go here to WatchGuard.com and I'm going to go under support. And if I click on support, download software, you will see that you have the option for Firebox or Firebox V. The idea is when it comes to the SSL VPN client and the NCP client, they are all the same, doesn't matter which model that we are using. So if we go here, we have the option to download the SSL VPN client for Windows or for Mac. In case if I have Android, I might use OpenVPN to do that. You have here mobile VPN with IPsec software. This is the premium IPsec license that is provided by NCP, and it's available for you here with different operating systems. And that concludes our demo. I hope that you enjoyed this session and the information provided on how you can protect your end users and remote users using WatchGuard solution. Please visit the link to share your feedback.